Hi, my name is Stephanie and welcome back to my channel. Today I have another video for you on my graduate scheme experience because it's today, the 27th of October, it's a Thursday, and I have essentially finished my first 2 months on my graduate scheme. And I'm going to talk you a bit through my first 2 months because both have been, like, month 1 versus month 2 have been absolutely different. And I'm also going to be telling you what my placement is going to be next because I know what my placement is going to be, and it's quite a surprising one. So stay tuned for that. First of all, a little disclaimer. So essentially my graduate scheme, first I say period of onboarding, and essentially it's the first 2 months that are onboarding. And I did a video back when I finished a bit more than my first week, as we started on September 1st, which was essentially in the middle of the week. It was not like on a Monday. And I talked about my first week and what it was like. Essentially that first week, that was what my entire first month was like. It was very much PowerPoints, meeting loads of people, getting to know essentially a whole lot of like business terminology, acronyms, what different functions within the business do, how they all fit together, how they work together, everything along those lines. And that was, for me, incredibly helpful, especially since I studied French literature. So I don't know this type of stuff, and I don't have that business background. I also didn't do like an internship or anything along those lines. So for me, this was actually very, very helpful. And I think that I learned a lot. Also, my entire cohort of graduates, we got really, really close because essentially we were all just stuck in the same space with all of these presentations and talks and information sessions and everything like that in the same space for like a month. So essentially we became a little family, which was actually really fun, and I must say that I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of information, like definite information overload. Like if you are starting on a graduate scheme, you are going to get information overload. I'm not even joking. The amount of information that you will get in your first like month there is going to be through the roof. And essentially that's just the way it is. It's a loads of first impressions, it's loads of new people, it's a loads of new terminology, because even the business terminology might be the same throughout different businesses. Still, companies have sort of like their own little acronyms for stuff, and that is all going to be just new information, and also how things work together, because that will be different throughout different businesses. So anyways, that was very interesting, extremely informative, also a bit draining, but less draining than month number 2, because month number 2 was on another level. Honestly. So while my first month was actually quite structured, I had to be in the office by 8, and then we had all of these sessions. First we did like more international sessions and then more local sessions, because my graduate scheme is with a company that's not solely based in the UK, so it is around the world, and they're all having graduates at the same time essentially. So the morning was international and the afternoon was local. That's how they split it up, which meant that we had an 8 a.m. start because that's 9 a.m. in continental Europe, and we had this very structured setup essentially throughout the entire month. Obviously we had days that were slightly different, or we were off a little earlier, or something else happened, like definitely, but generally speaking it was like that for the entire month. So then month number 2 was a bit different. Essentially what happened is that month number 1 for me was very much in the office, listening to people talk about the business in every way, shape or form, and working on a project together. That's essentially what my first month was. Then my second month was essentially out of the office, which meant that I am exhausted at this point. I am absolutely exhausted. My fellow trainees and I, we have been throughout several places within the UK to sort of go out in the field and explore how the business that I'm working for is sort of represented there, and what's, you know, out there, because it's not just, you know, London headquarters. It's not really like, you know, that's it. There's more out there. So we've been out and about, running around and having a very, very irregular schedule. Like, I'm not even joking. Some mornings I had a very easy 10 a.m. start in the office, which was great, and sometimes I had to be at 7:30 in Wood Green, which is an hour away from me. So essentially, like, it's been very early mornings. I had to get up out of bed at 6 a.m. on several occasions to be somewhere on time. So essentially some days were just very long, in the sense that I started quite early and ended at like 4, which sounds fine, but if you have like been awake since 6 a.m. in the morning, 4 p.m. is sort of the limit at that point. So essentially it was fluctuating a lot, which is fine. Like, I know no shade to the company that I'm working for at all, but it was just a lot. Like, honestly, my entire routine just went out of the window. Sometimes sometimes I didn't really know what the next thing was going to look like or what my next week was going to look like, because it was just so out and about, which I, in all fairness, actually really enjoyed, because these are the experiences that you will not get if you're on a direct entry role. Generally speaking, like obviously it could be that your direct entry role has that, but generally speaking, these are the types of things that are so important to see and so important to experience, and they're quite limited in terms of solely for graduate schemes, if that makes sense. So I have seen things and I've experienced things that I think are incredibly helpful for me in my future career with this company, and I would not have wanted to miss out on it in any way, shape or form. But it did mean that last month was chaos in terms of having a routine. It was just impossible to have a routine last month, but it's fine. Like, it's fine. I'm very happy that I have this experience, but I am quite exhausted right now, and sometimes, in all fairness, we had to wake up for fun stuff as well, like this morning. So I woke up this morning at 6:30 a.m. in the morning, which was not my earliest start to go go-karting. So there we go, right? Also, some fun stuff also needs to happen. We had a social today, so we had to be somewhere, like, for me, like far away London at 8:30 a.m. in the morning to go go-karting, you know? Stuff like that just happens. And it was all fun and games, and we had a lovely day today, but again, I'm exhausted. Just had my final feedback session about the onboarding process. Now I just have a long weekend off, which is really nice. So I have off tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. I'm going home. I'm going to see my mom. I'm going back to Amsterdam, so I'm quite excited about that. And then on Monday, I will be starting on my first ever placement. Yeah, the question is, what is my placement? Well, I'm going to explain it to you. So first, a bit of background. Essentially, we have been given a list in terms of different bits within the business that we could, or functions within the business that we were able to put our preferences in for. And generally speaking, on the graduate scheme that I am on, people tend to stay in where their second placement is at. This is our first placement. So I was like, you know what? If this is not where I'm going to stay, I might as well do something that I think that I won't want to do for the long term, which maybe sounds very strange, but essentially it gives me the option to explore and do something that I maybe at first glance wouldn't really have picked, but also it would give me the option to pick something that I potentially do not want to go into any further, but something that potentially will teach me a lot of skills that I might actually not have. So there was one thing that frightens me the absolute most as a literature student. The one thing that frightens me is finance. So what did I put as my first choice when submitting preferences for this placement? Finance. Just simply because I am probably going to learn a lot of things. I'm going to build up a lot of skills that I don't have, and I will figure out, you know, maybe I will love it, like who knows, but I get all these skills, and finance is also so general in terms of different business positions. You will always run into finance, and to have that greater understanding absolutely seemed like a very good idea to me. So I put down finance. So I will start off working right now in finance. Well, as you can tell, probably I got my first preference, finance. I really didn't think I would pick that, but I'm happy I did, and I very much look forward to just diving into it and explore it and learn more about it. Could very well be a hit or a miss, but we'll see how it goes. Might be the worst idea I've ever had, might be the best idea I've ever had, like who knows. I'm very excited for it. I've already spoken with my new manager and they're all going to onboard me. I've spoken to my team and everybody is super nice, so I very much look forward on starting with them on Monday, which is on the one hand quite scary because I don't really know these people, like they're not my fellow grads with whom I've been stuck with for like the last 2 months essentially, but I'm excited to give it a go and see how it all goes and just learn a whole lot of things. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little update on my grad scheme process, and yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I see you in a next video.